What is up, scoundrels? It is your man Clash, coming to you with a new video. Huge shout out to my patrons and supporters of both the channel and the Scoundrel Discord. We're not going to be going into Scoundrels today, though. We're going to be going into a Jedi Knight Luke comp. I've seen various versions of him in 5v5 on defense, and I found this to be one of the most troubling and challenging to date so far. If you're not in the Scoundrel Discord, I encourage you to join. Check it out. I post almost daily videos of different testing and footage and tips and tricks that we find, again, not just Scoundrels related, but pretty much everything. So before we get into this, just a quick word on defensive theory crafting. I have a lot of videos that I've tried to promote, and a lot of times people aren't familiar with just how much work it takes to get a defensive video together. You'll see if you look at my channel, I really do my best to put them in as much as I possibly can. They're definitely not as sexy as the meta counters and things like that we develop, but defensive theory crafting certainly has a place, and there have been a lot of people that have benefited from it. I know one of the first times I saw a really great defensive theory crafting was from Mobile Gamer, but that was whenever you could have test accounts. We don't have that luxury today, so it's really important if you're going to be a defensive theory crafter to make sure you've got helpful shard mates. Maybe that requires a little bit of diplomacy, but I am very fortunate that I've got a crew of people on my shard that are always willing to test things out and send footage. So thank you to each one of these individuals on my shard. You all know who you are. They've all contributed footage of my comps on defense and worked with me tirelessly to make sure that it is effective. Because it's very easy to say when you look at something on defense how you would beat it, but until you face it, it's a different story. In fact, I posted this JTR comp a few weeks ago on Reddit, and someone immediately, of course, said, there's like 15 things that you could, or 6 or 7 teams that you could obliterate that with. And so I said, thank you for your opinion. But a few weeks later, they came back and said, yeah, we faced that in TW, and I'm not going to lie, it was really hard. So you're not necessarily wrong. It's just a lot easier in theory to think about how you would do things. One of my former GAC opponents, Booth here, said it out loud, I knew the JTR team was coming and I still lost. So sometimes you actually have to face it. Altrios is facing this team that we're going to showcase today, and he said straight up he would massacre it, and then immediately said that team is effing nasty and it took me 5 times to beat it. And I'll just to prove to you how crazy, he had to take DR, Bastilug, GBA, Watt, and Han in there to beat it. So we're going to go through a few things today, but first I want to help you understand how you get into a strong defensive team, how you put it together. I think for this is really understanding the problem. For JKL, obviously you want him slow to take advantage of his leader ability, and if you're not familiar with it, here it is in black and white highlighted to show you that it's one of the more powerful things out there. You can reduce their base speed to his, so you kind of want him slow, but at the same time, if you're going to take advantage of his leader, you need him to be, you need someone to be going faster, and so you really want to organize all of the synergies that you have, and this is a way that I accomplish that. I actually put things in order, and then I go through the kits very, very meticulously. We'll come back to this in just a minute, but I just want to show you how I give a grade to a defensive comp, where it's strong, where it's vulnerable, and it takes a lot of time. What I'll show you now is exactly how I go through each one of the kits. I highlight very specifically what their uniques do, how it affects not only their team, but also the team that might be countering it. Because there are just so many things that you have to take into consideration, and this is the best way I have found to consolidate a lot of that just information and data on each one. So you're seeing here, you can slow down if you want to, but it's all there. And then from doing that, you find your vulnerabilities. For this comp, the vulnerabilities, of course, are going to be mostly in the damage reduction and the sort of health recovery. There's not a whole lot of that going on, but there's a lot of really good stuff in other places. So you have to make sure that your modding is right. And if I'm going to hold off something like a Darth Revan team with this, I need to know how fast specifically one of my characters needs to be. In this instance, it's going to be Rex. So I'll go into SWGOH.gg, I will look at all players and see what the count is on how fast the average player is for Darth Revan, and if I can get above 90% of that, I feel really good. So now we're going to walk through exactly how I have these modded and all the footage that you see here. With JKL, I actually went crit damage. Offense would probably work as well, but you just need him really decently slow, not super slow, but decently slow, and a heavy hitter. Shock T, you want to be blazing fast. I have her at 320. If you can get her higher than that, that's even better. She's going to be the real engine on this team, and as you'll see in the footage, it makes life miserable with all these clones that you have. Rex, I mean, you can pretty much just go pure speed for this guy because you're going to want him to go absolutely first if possible. But even if they try to get a Han in there or something like that, it's still gonna cause them trouble, and we'll see more about that in a minute. With Echo, I went mostly damage. He's going to be giving a lot of turn meter on his basic, but I like him to be just, again, assisting, doing as much damage as possible. None of these are perfect mod sets, I would say, but at least you get the idea. For 5s, with this mod set, you could actually probably I do a little bit of a hybrid here. Protection, health. I'm not overly concerned with speed because he's getting so much turn meter off of his unique, but I do like him to be very, very tanky. The last thing you have to ask yourself is, does this make sense for your roster? Not everyone is going to want to use clones this way. I know a lot of people are peeling gas off to work with a Jedi, so for me, I think this makes a lot of sense. Once you've done all of that assessment, you've looked at everything, you've got to test it, and so that's what we're going to go into now. The first thing you're going to notice here is this GG comp. GG actually does better than some of the other comps that I tested. A lot of it, of course, is going to be just due to just the crazy amount of damage that he can put out. But just like going against anything with Echo and clones, there's a lot of stuns going on. There's a lot of, it's just not easy, and especially once Rex gets going and is able to annihilate, it becomes a challenge for everyone. And so let's just lay out in simple terms here why this is such a challenging comp to beat. It's putting the person that's attacking it into a position where they have to make some really difficult choices. Do I stun Rex? If I do, that gives Shock T turn meter, which means she's going to go next. And that means she's going to give Jedi's Will to Luke, which means then your whole team is now set at a much, much slower rate. Okay, well, maybe I need to kill Shock T first. Well, you can, but I don't know how you're going to get in front of her. This is actually a Padme comp, and maybe a little bit unique that they used Barriss in here. Probably would have had more success with 3PO, but these are still relict and a good squad. The intro that you saw, it took 20 seconds for him to be able to take a single turn. Now, granted, again, you would think the mechanics would work in your favor on a Padme team, considering how many out-of-turn attacks there are. I mean, we're already at a 5-4 deficit, but it just really doesn't matter too much because Jedi Luke becomes so powerful and so strong. A little bit of a misplay right there. I think Rex probably should have been killed, and that way he couldn't have gotten through GK there. But again, it's a race against the clock. You are trying your hardest to get to him or get through 5s first to make sure that he doesn't one-shot someone with his aerial advantage. So we get them out of the way. Now it's 4-3. Luke can't be stunned. People forget that for some reason. But also, he hits like a champ. I mean, you saw there's 133. He can hit really, really hard. And so this actually ends up being a loss by Padme, which again I would have thought could have easily won. And so it's all those tricky little things that that it's hard to see, and unless you go through in meticulous detail, kind of like I did, it's easy to miss some of the ways in which you think you can get it done. This Hux was actually a decent option, right? Because he's going to eliminate all that turn meter. But again, once it happens, once he gets his Jedi's Will, and once you're slow, it's pretty much game over. Really hard to get through the clones, hard to get through Jedi Luke. And even though his leadership is mainly and predominantly going to be benefiting Shock T for the purpose of Jedi, the cross synergy that you see between all of these characters is really important. Whether it's the turn meter that Echo is giving on his basic to any Galactic Republic that are under 50% turn meter, that's really important. If it's not only that, if it's let's say you decide, hey, we're going to kill Rex first, and then that way we can get him down. Well, there's still, even with only 3 clones, that still makes them a very durable thing to get through. Then you look at over time just how much worse this gets. If you aren't able to neutralize Luke early, he's going to continue to ramp up critical damage. He's going to possibly stun your entire team, reduce your max health and protection. It just really, the longer it goes on for you on offense, the worse it gets. And that's why you're going to see a lot of this footage where they may actually get an advantage at the beginning. They may be up 5-4, 5-3, 4-3, and then they're going to ultimately lose because the longer Jedi Luke is alive, if you can't get him cleared out very, very quickly, he will just cut through even the most durable of comps. The fact that he's eliminating defense whenever he's got Jedi's Will, whenever Rex is going, and by the time he takes his special, there's just absolutely nothing fun about trying to face this team based on all the footage that I have. And so, are there things that can beat it? Are there ways and tactics that you actually can get through this? Absolutely, and there's even one or two cheap ways I think it can be done, but instead of covering that in this video, I'm going to leave a link to that below as an unlisted video just for people, so this isn't a 30-minute video. I'm going to leave that below so you can see some of the other footage and additional attacks that were done, but for the most part, I'm sort of walking you through just how many different varieties of teams this struggles with. Even a Darth Revan with Watt and the Sith Empire, all relicked, it really didn't matter. I actually do think Sith Empire would probably do better if it was a full Sith Empire team, just because you really need that damage output if you're going to be able to get through all this. But if you make a mistake like that and you AoE whenever he's got Jedi's Will, you are likely going to put yourself in a bad spot. And even though they got rid of Luke, by that point it was still too late. Rex had gone too far. This is just one of those things that I really think people will look at this comp and think they can get through it, even at lower gear than what I have them right now, and fully underestimate just how much crazy cross synergy there is between all of these characters. So this is going back to Altrius, who had mentioned he could beat it no problem, wouldn't even need Watt, he could figure it out no problem. Love you, buddy, Altrius, he's in my guild. This isn't even my Jedi Luke. This is another character or another person on his shard that's also in our guild that has similar characters. So not even as well modded or geared as what I showed you earlier for what I consider optimal modding. Still just so challenging to get through. You hit Rex, you give TM to Shaak Ti. She gives the special to the clone special under the Jedi Luke lead to him. He's going, now you're slow, now it's game over. So I'm going to show you one last bit of footage here. I hope this has been helpful. Again, just wanting to show you when as TWs are coming up, or once we get back into 5v5, I know we're in 3v3 right now, what maybe an additional option is if you're flexing your gas out into another character, or if you just come across something like this, just how challenging it can be, because there is still a lot more good defensive theory crafting to be done in the game today. I think with the addition of Mon Mothma and others, I'm going to be putting on a lot more footage of what she can do on defense. As mentioned earlier, I've got a lot of footage of that already on my server, so if you're not, please feel free to join the Scoundrel Discord below, where we cover, of course, our love, the Scoundrels, but much more. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.